Welcome to yoga. My name is Nicola and this is an all levels yoga class. Today's focus is going to be on the hip area, which I know for me is definitely a challenge area, so I will be modifying some things for sure. So just get nice and comfortable, find a comfortable seat, and we'll begin with our centering. So that's just an opportunity to slow down the breath and to just turn your focus inward. Check in with yourself and just see how you feel today. And be prepared just to modify as needed. Into some slow, deep breaths. We'll work with the Ujjayi breath this morning. So for the Ujjayi breath, you kind of constrict this front part of your throat slightly. And try to inhale and exhale through the nose. And as you breathe, you'll hear the air whispering up and down your throat, kind of the same sound as if you fog a bathroom mirror, and the same feeling in your throat, that slight constriction. Waiting for the time when we can be alone together. So just bear in mind as we move through today's practice that your breath is usually a pretty good guide as to how you're doing in the practice. And by that I just mean taking care of yourself. If you can breathe slowly, deeply, evenly, then you're fine. If you find yourself catching or holding your breath, then it probably means you're trying to force yourself into something that your body's just not ready for, or just not ready for on that particular day. So just keep that in mind. As long as you can feel comfortable, you feel a stretch or a sensation, but you are not in pain, and you can breathe slowly, deeply, evenly, then all is good. So just continue to move through a few more of these Ujjayi breaths.
It takes a crane to build a crane. It takes 2 floors to make a story.
And just take one more full deep breath. And then just allow your breathing to be natural without any thought. Bring your hands behind you on the mat. You can point your fingertips out to the side or behind you, just personal preference. Just bring your feet in front of you on the mat. Try to keep the spine nice and long, chest open. Just begin to allow your knees here to rock gently from side to side. Don't force, just let them land where they land. The next time your knees are moving over to the right, just pause. Maybe separate your feet a little bit more so that as you pick up this left hip, your knees may touch down on the floor. If they don't, no worries. Just find a comfortable position. And with this left hand on the back of your hip, inhale, just push your hip forward slightly. Exhale, allow that hip to roll back. Inhale, push your hip forward. Exhale, allow the hip to roll back. Just continue here, working with your own breath. It takes those tears to
takes the dust to have it polished.
And the next time you push your hips forward, just pause. I'm actually going to flip around a little bit because this might be easier to show you. So you're going to turn your head and look back. So you will be looking towards the back of your space, feeling a stretch down the side of your neck. This may be great, maybe all you need. If you do want a little bit more, you can release this left hand and bring it behind you and place the palms next to one another on the mat, keeping your spine nice and tall. If you want a little more, just come down onto the forearms and just allow head to kind of hang loosely forward, stretching out back of neck. And one more option is to extend your left leg and your left arm and kind of reach toes and fingertips away from one another. You can turn this supporting arm and rest your head on your arm or make a fist. And just stretch out that left side of the body. Just breathing into that left ribcage area. Allowing it to expand fully with each inhale. And if you do have the arm and leg extended, draw them back in. Come back up onto the palms of both hands. So I'm just going to quickly turn again so I'm kind of the same orientation I was before. You'll use this left arm to sweep you around and come back to face the front of the room. And from here, once more, just allow your knees to drop gently from side to side. And the next time the knees come over to the left, pause there, maybe separating your feet a little more so your knees can come down towards the mat. Right hand on hip, inhale, ease that hip forward. Exhale, allow it to just kind of roll back. Inhale, ease it forward. Exhale, roll back. Continuing with your own breath. The next time you ease your hips forward, pause, and maybe turn your gaze towards the back of the room, allowing that stretch on the right side of the neck. If you choose to, you can release the right hand, sweep it behind you, and place it next to the left hand on your mat, coming into a spinal twist. And if you choose, you can come down onto the forearms. And perhaps add in that side body stretch by extending right arm and leg long. Take one more breath. And if you were enjoying the stretch, just bring your palms back to the mat. And then use your right arm to sweep you back around, coming to face front. And we'll come into bound angle. This is another good one for the hips. So you'll bring the soles of your feet together. And try to sit up and kind of forward on those sit bones. If it helps, you can take your arms behind you and kind of use them to push yourself forward a little bit and keep the back nice and long. And from here, you can choose to keep a nice straight spine or just begin to fold forward. Another option which may help if hips are tight is to move your feet further forward. This will allow you to kind of sit further forward on those sit bones, those two knobby little bones here underneath the glutes. And then from here you can come forward with a flat back or just allow spine to round. If your feet are further forward, you can also try turtle by taking your hands palms down, threading them underneath your shins so that your forearms come down to the floor. And just allow your head and neck to just hang loose.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping.
With each breath, with each exhale, try to just release a fraction more and ease just a little deeper into the posture.
Still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walk alone. Now the streets are cobblestone. Neath the halo of a street lamp, I turn my collar to the cold veil.
Take one more breath.
Eyes will stare back.
And then just begin to come back up to a nice tall spine. And if your heels were in close, go ahead and push them forward so your feet are a little further away from you. Bring your hands behind you again. Fingertips can point out or point back, whatever's more comfortable. And sitting nice and tall, just draw your shoulder blades together. This will open up the chest. So it's a slight back bend for seated fish. And gaze can remain straight forward, or you can tip the head back and look up, just personal preference, however you are more comfortable. On your next exhale, just release the shoulders and bring the feet flat on the mat. We'll make our way to a tabletop position so that we can come into the 6 movements of the spine, just to work into the spine a little bit. Spinal health is very important. So fingers spread nice and wide, joints stacked in line. And as you inhale, belly lowers, tailbone and chin tip up. Exhaling, round the back, push out all that breath, tucking in chin and hips. Inhaling, find that dog posture. Exhale into cat, pushing into hands and knees. If you like, you can try to begin each movement with the tailbone. So tailbone tips, belly lowers, chin tips up, and then tailbone tucks, back rounds, chin tucks in. Just work with your own breath here. We'll just move through a couple more of these. Take one more inhale breath. Exhale, really round the back. And then come to a neutral spine. And we'll just make those little C curves with the spine by moving from side to side. So as you exhale, take your tailbone and chin to the left. Inhale as you come through a straight spine. And then exhale as chin and hips come to the opposite side. So you're just kind of making a little C curve from side to side. Exhaling as spine bends and inhaling as you pass through a straight spine. Going with the rhythm of your own breath. Just go once more either side. And then pausing in the center, we'll add a spinal twist with thread the needle. So keep your left hand grounded. And as you inhale, open your right arm, finding a twist. Exhale, thread that arm palm up behind the left and push the fingertips out as far as they'll go. And then try to bring head and shoulder down to the mat. If that doesn't work, just make a fist with your left hand and rest your head on the fist. Or if you happen to have a yoga block or a rolled up towel handy, you can rest your head on those too. Just take one more breath. And then on your next inhale, just open up this right arm for a twist. Exhale, hand to mat. Switching sides. Inhale, opening the left arm up. Exhale, thread that hand palm up behind the right arm, pushing fingertips towards the right side. And again, just find a comfortable place to rest your head, either on your fist, on your mat, maybe on your right forearm.
Sananda, Sananda, Sananda,
On your next inhale breath, release this arm, opening for one more twist. Exhale, hand to mat. So throughout this practice, we will do a few things where we're actually on our knees. If you have a thin mat, you might want to consider just kind of rolling your mat over at any point. Bear in mind you can roll it from here, or if we're facing the long way of the mat, you can kind of roll it this way too. Or again, if you have maybe a towel handy or some padding, like one of those gardening pads, those are usually good to assist in yoga when we do things on the knees. So we're coming into some fire hydrants. I will confess these are not my favorite because I do have tight hips, but it is important to work on those tight areas. Even if you have to modify a lot, that's okay. So just bring more weight into your right knee and just lift this left knee. Now you can lift it a little bit, or you can bring it all the way out here to 90 degrees. That's up to you. And just begin to make some circles. So these can be little teeny circles right here, or you can circle a little bigger. Oof, that's not working for me, so I'll be keeping these small, at least on this side. And one more option is to actually extend your leg out back as you circle. You may prefer to do that. So just work with it, see what feels good, or at least tolerable. Remember, you should not be in pain, and you should be able to breathe slowly, deeply, evenly. Just pause and take these circles in the opposite direction. You can circle slowly, more quickly. It's all up to you. And then just bring your knee down, kind of readjust here. And we'll prepare to work with the other side. So leaning slightly onto your left knee. You can raise that right leg a little or a lot. And just begin to make some circles. Remember, you can always choose to extend that leg out back, and in these circles that might make it a little easier. I get a lot of cracking and popping in my hips. Hopefully you guys can't hear it. And just pause and circle in the opposite direction. And then just bringing the knee down. So again, kind of level off your knees and hips here. Perhaps bringing the toes together. We'll just sink back into our first child's pose. So you can keep this fairly active by keeping the arms stretched out front, maybe even coming onto the pads of the fingers and tenting the palms of the hands. And just enjoy this kind of stretch you feel down the arms and the upper back. Your arms kind of acting like cables between your wrists and shoulders. Breathing into that upper back area. If you prefer a more restorative child's pose, you can bring your arms behind you, palms up, rest them next to your feet. And just let the shoulders drape forward. Head should be resting on something. If it's not the mat, just make a fist with one of your hands. And then if your hands are behind you, bring them forward. Just come back up onto hands and knees and we'll prepare for downward facing dog. Just make sure hands are perhaps a little forward of shoulders and spread out nice and wide. Toes are tucked. And just begin to lift up your hips here. Pushing your heels down towards your mat, pushing into the palms of your hands. So chest moves towards thighs. And if you think back to when we did that cat dog earlier, we had a little tip to the tailbone up and back. It's subtle. Do you want to try to tip that tailbone up and back? And then with your shoulder blades, draw them down your back and wrap them forward. Again, it's a subtle movement. We'll turn the armpits in slightly and just help support the spine, help keep the spine straight so that we can hold this downward dog. If you prefer, just coming up onto the toes here and alternately pushing one heel then the other down towards the mat. As you do so, you can kind of push into that opposite palm of the hand. This is often referred to as walking the dog. Take one more breath here. And just begin to walk your feet forward towards the front of your mat, landing in a forward fold. We will not be here for long, but if forward folds are not for you, then jackknife is your option, keeping head and heart at the same level. If you're okay with a forward fold, maybe coming into ragdoll and just swaying back and forth a little bit. And then whenever you're ready, bringing hands to shins or thighs, inhaling, come about halfway up, finding that jackknife posture. So here, your spine should be fairly parallel with the mat. Crown of head here is pointing straight forward. And kind of use your shoulder blades to draw your shoulders back and away from your ears. Keep the knees soft. You may need to keep a generous bend, that's okay, but always keep a soft bend. You really don't want to lock out the knee joints. Weight should be in your heels. You should be able to wiggle your toes around, feeling a nice stretch in the hips, glutes, hamstring area. Take one more breath. As you exhale, begin to sink the hips down, coming into Utkatasana or chair pose. So you want to sink down as low as you comfortably can and hold for a few breaths. Even if that's right here, that's okay. Everybody is different. Arms can come straight out in front of you, just keeping in mind that the shoulders should stay back. You don't want to hunch your shoulders up towards your ears. If that's not comfortable, just bring your hands to heart in prayer pose. And we'll hold here for a few breaths. And this is a good posture for strengthening the legs and hips. Helps us as we age so that we can always get up and down out of a chair or in and out of bed more easily. Take one more breath, and as you exhale, just straighten your legs and fold forward. Maybe just enjoy ragdoll for a few more breaths. And then slowly rolling on up here, coming up to a nice tall spine. Inhale, reaching arms up to extended mountain. Exhaling, bring hands to heart. And just take a moment here to get used to being upright, to standing. Moving into some sun breaths, just lower your hands by your sides. And as you inhale, turn palms up. Create a little resistance here with your arms. Bring palms together. Turn palms out. And as you exhale, push the arms down. So you're not just floating your arms up and down. You're actually creating some resistance. Arms are strong here. You're hugging your arm muscles to the bones. You're pushing down through your hands as if you're pushing through something thick. Legs are strong. Feet are parallel. Inner arches of your feet should be pulled up. Glutes should be slightly engaged. Tailbone tipping slightly forward. There's actually a lot going on here. And you thought you were just standing, right? Let's just take one more breath. Exhale. And then once more, just bring hands to heart and pause for a few moments.
I never dreamed that I need somebody like.
And releasing the arms. I'm just going to turn to face you here. We'll be working with balance. And since this is kind of a hip-focused practice, we'll be doing a couple of postures that are good for the hips. So we'll be coming into tree, and then from there, kind of standing pigeon. So take your left foot there, spread the toes nice and wide, and imagine sending roots out to the mat, getting that leg nice and stable and strong. You do want strong muscles here, but again, try to keep the knee a little soft. And just bring your right heel to your left ankle. Your toe is resting on the floor, the ball of your foot, and just bring palms together. So this could be tree pose for you, and that's fine. If you want a little more, just lift the foot and place it on the shin, just above the ankle or just below the knee. And this is a fairly safe zone, so you can just bring your foot up and down as needed. Or if you know you have balance or you want to just challenge yourself, just bring your foot above the knee and kind of press it into the thigh. At the same time, you'll press your thigh into your foot. Core is tight. We're standing up nice and tall, shoulders are back. And press your palms together. Create a little tension in the upper body. I'm going to keep my hands like this today, but if you prefer, you can reach up, sway your arms a little bit, or come into steeple pose. Plenty options. Just play with it, have fun. And from here we'll be working into standing pigeon. So you're going to take your foot and just cross it over so your ankle is just above your knee. Again, trying to keep a nice tall spine. Just begin to bend that standing leg. You probably will lean forward slightly, but you want to avoid pitching fairly far forward or you're probably going to lose your balance. Bend your knee as little or as much as you want, feeling some sensation in your hip. Try to hang in there for 1 or 2 more breaths. That's the sound of your hips releasing. And go ahead and release that foot. Shake your legs a little bit. Before we move to the other side, we'll just come into some hip circles. So keep your feet about hip width apart. And just begin to circle your hips around. Keep legs and knees soft. Maybe pausing, just take those circles in the opposite direction. And then perhaps just shaking your legs out a little bit more. Thank you very much. We're about to start this on the other side. So take your right foot, connect it with the mat, spread your toes, keep the inner arch up. Think about sending roots into the mat. And just come into whichever version of tree works for you. You should try to mirror what you did on the other side, but again, we work with injuries, limitations. One side of the body is never quite the same. So if you need to modify more on this side, or you think you can come into something a little more challenging, then go for it. So remember your options. Pick which one is right for you. And either press palms together. Remember, core is nice and tight here. Or you can reach arms above your head if you prefer. Keep them loose, swaying around. Remember, wobbles are normal. Balance is always a work in progress, so no worries. If you need to put your foot down and come in and out of a balance, that's also normal. And then finding that standing pigeon, take your left foot and just bring it just above the right knee. And then begin to bend your standing leg. You may not be able to bend it too much. That's okay, just work with what you can. Try to keep your spine fairly straight. Again, we're still pressing palms together. Core is tight. Find a stable focal point. Usually on the floor, a few feet ahead of you. You never want to look straight down. Try to take one more breath. And then slowly come up and release your feet. Shake the legs out. Come into some empty coat sleeves here. So again, feet are hip width apart. And as you turn, you're going to kind of release your back heel like this so that you don't torque the knee. And just let your arms swing around like empty coat sleeves. I'll kind of swing around, maybe hit yourself in the back, give yourself a little bonus massage. Just loosening up hips, low back. And then gradually just kind of let yourself unwind and come to stillness. And take a wide stance on your mat here. We'll be working through some standing postures, again with a focus on the hips. So the first one we'll come into is goddess or warrior squat for the men. So just sinking down here. Find that beautiful goddess or that strong warrior. And bringing hands again just to prayer pose here. So we'll just stay here for a breath or two. Again, sink as low as you want. And then kind of pivoting on this right foot so that your heel goes back, your toe is forward, and you straighten this leg. Make sure the left toes are facing right to the left, bending into your front leg, keeping hips level and facing front. Arms will come out to shoulder height. We're in Warrior Two. And then keeping everything from the waist down as it is. Lower your back arm, flip your front palm, and finding a little side bend by reaching up and back with this front arm, feeling a nice expansion in this left rib cage area. And from here back through Warrior Two. And begin to lean forward, lowering forearm to thigh, sweeping back arm overhead, finding extended side angle. And again, try to keep a nice straight diagonal line here from leg, hip, ribs, arm. You may need to step a little wider or bend a little more into the front knee to avoid this hip popping up. And coming back through Warrior Two. Making our way back to Goddess or that Warrior Squat. So you're going to have to pivot this foot in. It's okay to take a few moments to shift yourself around and then sink back into that squat. And then working through those postures on the other side. Pivot this back foot so your heel goes back. Toes are facing long edge of the mat. Right toes are facing right, arms are shoulder height. We're in Warrior Two on the other side.
On one side, all the lights glow.
Lowering back arm, flipping from palm, reaching up and back, finding that side bend, that opening in the ribs here. Breathing into that front rib cage area.
On the other side, where no cars go. Up to the hills.
Back through Warrior Two. Lean forward slightly. Forearm to thigh, keeping this left hip down, so you may need to bend your knee a bit more. Sweeping back arm overhead. But extended side angle.
God knows I failed, but He knows that I've tried.
Taking one more breath here. Make your way back to Warrior Two. And then back to that Goddess squat. So we'll be moving side to side one more time with some slightly different postures. Just bringing hands to heart, maybe sinking a little deeper here. May feel your thighs beginning to shake a little bit or building some heat. That's okay, we're working, this is good for you. Finding Warrior Two to the left. This time we'll straighten the front leg and same arms, same stretch from the waist up. Now we're in reverse triangle. So the only difference between this and the Peaceful Warrior is the fact that Peaceful Warrior had a bent front leg. Now we're giving a little relief to that leg. And keeping your legs straight, bring the arms back to shoulder height, and we'll work into triangle. Leaning forward till you reach kind of a stopping point, and just windmill your arms, bringing them floor to ceiling. If your fingertips touch down, awesome. If they don't, no worries. The most important thing is to keep this top shoulder back. You don't want to try to reach to the floor and bring this shoulder forward. You're better off to have correct alignment. So keeping your chest nice and open. And using your back arm to bring you up. Just turn your toes out, kind of towards the corners of your mat. And again, Sink down into that goddess. Bring hands to heart, pressing palms together. Core is pulling in, maybe even sinking a little deeper. And then finding warrior two to the right. So we're going to turn the back heel out. And arms at shoulder height. Hips facing front. Nice open go with the flow posture. And straightening your front leg, lowering back arm, flip front palm. And finding that side bend for reverse triangle. And then coming back, bringing your arms parallel, legs stay straight. Leaning forward as if you're leaning across a countertop. And then windmill your arms here. Making sure to keep this left shoulder back, keeping chest nice and open. Gaze can be straight ahead, or you can look up, or look down towards your toes. That back arm to pull you up, bringing your toes out to those outer corners of your mat. Once more, just sink down into that goddess or warrior squat, sinking the hips maybe even a little lower. So from here we will be coming into a slightly deeper squat. If this is all you got, just bring your forearms to your thighs, maybe even interlace your fingers. Just kind of work side to side here. Let's call this a mobility squat or kind of a moving squat. And just work with this, come in and out as you need to. If you need to give the legs a break, go for it, then come back. If you can squat a little deeper, just bring your feet in a little bit more. And if you can keep the heels down or allow the heels to pop up. It really doesn't matter. And then use your elbows to push your hips back, bringing palms together. You also have the option of kind of moving side to side, or maybe even twisting a little bit. If you prefer, you're just going to hold the posture. And then whenever you're ready, just standing up nice and straight. We'll do one more posture that I don't teach a lot, but it is very good for the hips. Coming down onto the knees, we'll be working with frog. So if you do have a thin mat, I would definitely recommend rolling it over and doubling it up. So you're on your knees. Just bring your knees as wide as you can here, sinking the hips down. They may not go out very far. I'm pretty tight in the hips, as I've said, so this is where I stop. And then you're going to come down onto your forearms and you just kind of rock back and forth here. So if your toes are towards one another, it will be a little easier. For more challenge in the hips, you're going to bring your toes apart. So I don't know if you can see my feet, but my heels are kind of right behind my knees. So I have a right angle. Thinking back to your math classes, I have kind of a right angle in my knee joint, and I'm flexing my feet and pulling the toes towards the shins. Again, just kind of rocking back and forth a little bit. And if you can, kind of try to ease the knees out a half an inch more. Mine really are not going to go any further than this. So I'm just working back and forth, breathing slowly, deeply. Just try to stay here for another breath or two. If you really need to come out of this, just bring your toes together first and then draw your knees in. So if you can, hang in for one or two more breaths.
I jumped
And maybe coming up onto the palms of your hands, bring your toes towards one another and kind of hook your toes onto the floor and just draw your knees in. So you're kind of in a tabletop. Go ahead and unroll your mat. And we'll just quickly work with a back bend before we come down to the floor. So we'll work with camel. Again, you're on your knees, so if you need to roll your mat, be my guest. The key with camel is to engage the glutes and push the tailbone forward. You want to keep everything from the waist down still. You want to avoid this kind of motion when you're going into the posture. So tuck the tailbone forward, your thighs are engaged, your glutes are engaged. And you want to think about keeping everything here still as if it's up against a wall. And then just begin by bringing your hands to your hips here and draw your shoulder blades back. This will open the chest a little bit. So right here, we're already in a slight back bend. And you can stay here and just kind of work in and out of this. So remember, everything from the waist down is staying still. We're not rocking back and forth. You're just kind of bending the thoracic spine, this top part of your spine, and then coming back. So feel free to stay here working with this. If you have more flexibility, you can hook your toes under and kind of reach through your heels, and then draw your shoulder blades in. So that's up to you. I'm going to keep my hands right here on my hip. And then releasing this, sitting back onto your heels. Just slowly come into a child's pose stretch here. And then slowly rolling on up, we'll find a seat on our mat. And we'll just slowly roll back. And to come into blissful or happy baby. So draw your knees in. And then begin to extend your legs up so that your soles of your feet point towards the ceiling. And then bend your knees, bringing thighs towards your chest. You can either grab insteps and pull down. You can hold somewhere along your shins. Or you can just interlace your fingers and rest your forearms on the back of your thighs. If you want a little work for the hamstrings, you can bend and straighten the legs. Otherwise, just kind of rock from side to side here. Again, this is a pretty good hip opener.
Everybody's chasing the beauty they don't have, and
Maybe rolling all the way onto your side, all the way onto the other side. I promise you will get back up. If not, just let go of your feet. It's an easy fix, you won't be stuck. Just feel free to play with this happy baby just a little bit longer. And then letting go of your feet, extending the legs straight up briefly into hip stand, maybe pointing and flexing the feet or circling the ankles. And just bringing your feet down to the mat. Keep your right foot grounded and take your left ankle and bring it just below the right hip. Engage the core, pushing low back into mat, and use your left hand here to kind of ease this left knee away. We're coming into figure four stretch or reclining pigeon. From here, if you're enjoying this stretch, stay right here. Otherwise, if you want more, pick up your right leg and begin to draw that right knee in. And feel a good sensation in this left hip. This is a little tight for me today, so I'm not going to draw my right knee in too much, but if you want, you can take your hands, interlace them, and just hold either on your right shin below the knee or behind the thigh, and use those hands to kind of draw your legs in and release a few times till you find a good stretch. Hold that stretch, breathing into that bullseye sensation you feel in your hip. And gradually lowering your right foot down to the mat. Cross your left leg over so you're closing the gap between your knees. Shift your hips an inch or two towards the left. And then let your knees drop over, across and down to the right side, coming into a knee down twist. If low back is tight, keep knee and hip at the same level. If you have a little more flexibility, you can use your right hand to kind of gently ease your knee a little closer to the floor. And your gaze can be straight up at the ceiling, or out towards this left hand just to complete the spinal twist.
Just because I'm losing doesn't mean I'm lost. Doesn't mean I'll stop.
Slowly just make your way onto your back. Uncross your legs, level off your hips. Just allow your knees to gently fall from side to side. And then bringing your legs to stillness, keeping left foot grounded. Bring right ankle just below left knee again. Connecting low back to mat by drawing in your abdominals, taking right hand and easing this right knee away. Option is to stay right here. If you want more, pick up your left foot, begin to draw that left knee in, feeling that bullseye sensation in the right hip. And you have an option to interlace your fingers on top of the left shin or behind the thigh. Just ease your left knee in and out, just increasing that stretch in the right hip until you just get to the point where you feel a good stretch that you can hold for a few breaths. And letting go of your left leg, bring that foot to the floor. Cross your right knee over. Shift your hips an inch or two to the right. And then let your knees fall over, across and down to the left. Again, bringing arms to shoulder height, or using your left hand to ease this knee a little closer to the floor if you have the flexibility in the low back area. Gaze straight up at the ceiling, or turn your head and look out towards your right hand. So slowly releasing this twist, making your way onto your back, on across your legs, level off your hips. Again, just take a moment to windshield wiper your knees from side to side. We will be making our way into Shavasana. So if you would like to work with another hip opener for Shavasana, you have the option of coming into reclining bound angle. So just bringing soles of the feet together, just allowing your knees to fall out to the side, maybe interlacing fingers and resting hands on belly. Feeling rise and fall of the belly as you breathe. Or otherwise you can come into one of the more traditional postures, extending legs long, arms by your side. Just allowing arms and legs to roll out to the side. Or if you need support for the low back, bending legs, feet flat on the mat, and just knees kind of roll in and support one another. This will keep your low back connected more to the mat and give it more support. Or any other posture where you feel comfortable. And we'll be able to relax for the next few minutes. Just begin to take some slow, deep breaths. Scan your body. See where you may be holding on to some tension. Just try to release that tension. Maybe gently rocking your head from side to side or shrugging the shoulders up and down. You might be clenching your jaw. Try to release that. And then paying attention to where you feel the support of the floor beneath you. Take an inhale breath, and as you exhale, just fully surrender and release into the support of the earth. Let it cradle you, let it support you, let it hold you up. Just let your mind wander as thoughts come. Just let them pass like clouds on a breezy day. Just let your breathing be natural. Just begin to bring your attention back to the present moment. Notice the sounds around you, how the air feels on your skin. Just make some small movements to awaken the body. perhaps roll onto one side. And take a few breaths there.
Fear is done, my love is a lantern shining on one. Words in a fountain, hope is a tree sitting on a mountain where the grass don't grow. There's a sound of the sea, but my love is an island, wild and free like the hills in the highlands. It's a breeze that brings me back to dryland where the flowers grow.
And taking your time whenever you're ready, just transition to seated.
Love is the last thing we go. Love is the only song I'll sing.
Just take a few breaths here with the eyes closed or with a soft gaze. Maybe returning to that Ujjayi breath that we did at the beginning of the practice. Just maybe taking note of how you feel compared to how you felt at the beginning of the practice. And then we'll end the practice by taking an inhale breath, reaching palms together and drawing hands to heart center. Just have some appreciation for those around you. Maybe you were practicing with somebody else, or just think about the others that may be out there practicing with you right now. And just have some gratitude for all the good things in life right now. The light in me honors the light in all of you. Namaste.